But it was like the first time that a doctor had really looked at all these different systems of my body and said, okay, they all affect everything. So we're going to look at your diet and your hormones and your physical health, and all of these things work together. And I was just blown away. I thought that was amazing. And then pretty soon after that, I got introduced to permaculture, which is a similar sort of whole systems design thinking philosophy that seeks to, it's more focused, or it has been more focused in the past, on regenerative agriculture and agroforestry, but we're beginning to see in the last several years it really expand to more community systems and social permaculture. So looking at all of the ways that we sort of live and how we grow food, how does that relate to our community? How do we interact with all of these different pieces?
All right. Well, hi, everybody. It's me, Lacey. I am here with Addie Navaro. I'm excited to introduce you to her. She has some really cool things going on in her business, which is, what is it called again? The rooted tree. Is that right? Or did I say it wrong?
Tree routed. Yeah.
I love it. And I need to see it in a picture because I feel like that would
I
help.
know.
I'm a visual learner, but I love what Addie does. She helps people learn how to be more resilient and how to embrace permaculture in sort of all elements of their life, which I think is so cool. So Addie, before we start talking about your business and what you do, can you share with us sort of how you came into this line of work and what kind of inspired you to learn more about permaculture and all of those things?
This has sort of been many years in the making, sort of gathering different skills from different areas of my life. And I think that this really openness to more holistic thinking started back several years ago when I was living in Austin, Texas. And I was having some health problems, and I was having a lot of anxiety. It was like way above what I'm used to, or what was normal for me. And so I took action, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go see a therapist. And it was helping, but I still felt like there was something missing, missing piece of the puzzle there. So I went to this holistic medical center called People's Community Clinic or People's Health Clinic. I can't remember exactly, but it was like the first time that a doctor had really looked at all these different systems of my body and said, okay, they all affect everything. So we're going to look at your diet and your hormones and your physical health, and all of these things work together. And I was just blown away. I thought that was amazing. And then pretty soon after that, I got introduced to permaculture, which is a similar sort of whole systems design thinking philosophy that seeks to, it's more focused, or it has been more focused in the past, on regenerative agriculture and agroforestry, but we're beginning to see in the last several years it really expand to more community systems and social permaculture. So looking at all of the ways that we sort of live and how we grow food, how does that relate to our community? How do we interact with all of these different pieces? I got to go to New Zealand and live on a permaculture farm for a couple of months and get my permaculture design certificate from an amazing school called the Eco School in Wanganui. And it was just an incredible experience. It was like one of those experiences where you see what you want to, how you think life should be lived, and you see the example of what you are seeking for, and then all of a sudden it becomes so real and it becomes so powerful, but you just need to see it in action. And that was that experience for me, is seeing all the sort of how everything was piecing together for them on their farm, with the growing their own food, but also being really active members of their community, and how all these pieces play together. And so then I just felt like, okay, well, now I can do it. And so moved back here to Boone, North Carolina, where I live now. And yeah, North Carolina. And now have been practicing permaculture and myself, and with a really heavy emphasis on sort of community resilience and bringing those permaculture ethics and principles to a much larger scale.
Yeah, I love that. So I didn't know you were in Boone, which my heart is in Boone. Drew and I met in Boone at App and
Oh, amazing.
started falling in love with agriculture when we were in Boone too. But that's cool. We're neighbors. We're gonna have to get together. But I love all of
Yes.
that. I think that it's such a beautiful thing when you talked about permaculture and how it's really like the holistic version of agriculture. Like it really is. It's holistic agriculture. But it does kind of spill into everything else because agriculture is at its finest when the community is stronger and when we're all working together and there's diversity there. So I think that's all just so
Absolutely.
cool. And it is like it's something you really fully experience when you're like in it. It's hard to talk about it and feel it. When you see it and are part of it, it makes a big difference. I love that.
Absolutely.
So I'm assuming that your experience with this more holistic medicine led you to some kind of relief from your anxiety. Is that
Oh,
true?
absolutely. It was such a, that was the key that unlocked everything, really, because I was so used to thinking of everything as compartments, like you've got your mental compartment, you've got your diet compartment, you've got your everything, is kind of compartmentalized. And to then it just changed my perspective about like so many things, not just medicine, but how everything just does work together. That's how it is in nature. That's how we live also. It doesn't make sense to compartmentalize all the areas of our health, but also of our lives. Like our work life is not separate from our home life. And, there's so many examples where we attempt to compartmentalize, but it's, it's not how things are naturally make sense.
Right. And as to like what you want to do, it's not how we're the most resilient. So can you give us some examples of how you might help somebody kind of make these connections in their own sort of life, and whether it's, in their garden or whatever? Can you just share with us what that might look like?
For sure. So, just like, so in designing for an agricultural space or a community garden, for example, it's very site specific. So we look at, what are the unique factors affecting this, particular space. And I do that similarly with people, looking at what are the unique advantages that this person has that they can use to their advantage, or what are the challenges that they're facing specifically, looking to build off of sort of beginning with the self, sort of as zone one, if you're familiar with sort of permaculture zones. But the self, we can't really do anything. We can't do anything really unless our own selves are taken care of. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, I had this insanely bad case of poison ivy and I was out for 2 weeks. Like I was laid flat. Like I couldn't do anything. I could barely sleep. Like it was just nothing was working. And it's like a reminder again of like, when things are not okay with our immediate selves, we can't do anything on our land. We can't do anything in our homes. We can't really show up for other people, definitely not in our communities. So I work with starting with the self, and that can include what's going on mentally, what's going on with money, what's going on with, diet and health, and then moving outwards from there. So what's going on with our home situation, what's going on with our immediate community, maybe our land, if we're attempting to grow our own food and live more off the land. And then beyond that, moving into community. So how can we use all of these skills that we have and our unique powers to go out into our community and make our communities more resilient.
Yes, I love it.
Because as we've seen with the pandemic, this is critical. I mean, this is, we are not islands. We are all affected by each other. And as soon as, we can really see lately how vulnerable some of our systems are in the country and in the world. And so how can we plug into our communities is also a really important aspect of what I believe to be resilient living, to help our communities also become stronger and less vulnerable to outside influences and turmoil.
I love it. That's like my anthem. I love it. So can you give us an example of somebody that might seek you out, describe their situation and why they might look to you for answers?
I think that what I've gotten so far is a lot of people who are sort of in a similar life stage as I am, sort of in that nebulous time between, post college and maybe having a family potentially, because there's just so many different possibilities and there's no one right way to be living. And we sort of feel like we're needing to establish how we're living now. Like now we're really adults. we're not just fake adults, like we're really adults, and we can really choose how that looks like for us. And so I know I have a lot of friends around this age who have sort of been, conflicted about if they're doing the right thing. And I mean, I know I certainly have at different times. And so I think those people definitely seek me out. I've spent so many years living very nomadically, living, out of a van or backpack, or I lived abroad with my partner for over a year. And it's just, I understand that feeling of when you don't really have strong roots, like how can you do any of this stuff? And so I really believe that you can do it even without being really rooted into one single place. I believe that you can kind of plug in wherever you are and start wherever you are. So I think that opening up this sort of philosophy to people who might not have access to land or might not have the desire to settle down in one place broadens the scope of the people that have access to making themselves more resilient. That answered your question exactly.
So anyone that is feeling maybe a little just unanchored, and they really want to just feel more connected to their purpose. Yeah, that sounds, and more resilient. I think that word is really a key one for your.
It's my favorite word.
Okay, so you have a really cool freebie that anyone can check out. It sounds amazing for everyone. So describe that freebie for our folks. I would love for them to check it out. So share with them what that's all about.
It is called the Resilience Right Now Workbook. And I made it because I wanted to be able to give some skills for people that are maybe looking for that next step or that action to do something right now. Because my biggest frustration is I'm a very practical person. I like things that are actionable. I like to make lists. I like things that I can do with my hands and do it right now. I don't really like to spend too much time in the theoretical space. So this workbook is very actionable. It has a lot of free resources. It's broken down into 3 different sections. So the first section is, like I spoke about a bit earlier, the sort of zone 1, the self. And so some different resilience skills that you can build up for yourself, get yourself squared away. Mm-hmm. And then zone 2 is moving out into the home, into, the land or maybe immediate community, looking at maybe different skills that we can learn to help us live more sustainably. And zone 3 is focused on community. And so how can we build more resilient communities? And it's all very actionable with little check boxes, which are my favorite things. I love to check boxes. I'm a big box checker, and lots of resources that have helped me that I've any of the things in there that are just things that I really like. And a lot of them are free. So hopefully it can help anybody who's interested in getting a jump start on feeling a little bit more anchored wherever they are and feeling like they have a next step for living the kind of life that they want to live.
It sounds amazing. I think that's so brilliant, because a lot of times we talk about these things and we're like, yeah, permaculture, dude, it's the coolest. And people are like, I don't know what to do with that. I don't have a farm. I don't, it's just, I don't know how to apply that. But yeah, I think giving an actual tool is so helpful. I love it. It's beautiful. So we will have the link to that. You just click the link to get your free copy of the workbook and fill it out. Let us know what you think about the result, and stay connected with Addie. And at the end of that workbook, you actually have a way to get in touch with you and maybe set up a personal consult, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. So everyone, I hope that you are excited to take that and do that and apply that workshop or workbook to your own life and see how you can embrace permaculture and resilient living in everything that you do. But before we go, Addie, I want to ask you one last question, and that is, what is one thing that you do on a regular basis to feel your best?
I do feel like I do several things, and not every day do the same thing, but drinking water has been really big for me.
Easy.
I have a rule for myself now that I have to drink a massive glass of water or two before I can have like caffeine in the morning.
Oh,
And
that's such a good thing. But now I'm like, forget the water. No, I put water in my
I know,
coffee. Does that count? No.
exactly. I just want to go right to the coffee, but I need to have the water first because
Yeah.
I just get really jittery and weird with a bunch of coffee.
That's a really good tip, and I think you've encouraged me to do that again because I do feel better when I manage to get that glass in before I start drinking my coffee.
Yeah.
It's actually one of my rules too. My supplements. I take my supplements before I have coffee. It's like a reward for everything. So what else can I fit in before?
Exactly. Treat yourself.
All right, Addie. Well, thank you so much for being on the call with us. I can't wait to
Thank
share
you,
this with our
Lacey.
listeners. And if you guys are trying to be more resilient, check Addie out and stay connected. Everybody, have a great day.